נחman. Okay, and so it's Sukkot, Tafshin, Ayin, Pei, and Baruch Hashem. I wanted to talk about something here for for Lichvot Chag Sukkos. Baruch Hashem. There's a Rebbe Nachman who explains one of the more well-known ideas in the Kavanot regarding Chag Sukkot. Right, everyone knows or should know that on Chag Sukkot we are bringing in through the Mitzvah of Sukkah. Right, this is what helps to bring in the Chasadim to build up the Nukva, the parts of Nukva, the Chasadim from Ima. So there are Chasadim which come from Ima. Now there's two types of Chasadim which come in from Ima. There's Or Yashar and there's Or Makif. Or Panimi and Or Makif. And what we're talking about here are the Makifin. The Sukkah is the Or HaMakif, or the Chasadim of the Or Makif from Ima. As such, it is the highest of the lights that the ARIZa talks about the coming in the Chag, because we know that there's Lulav, which is the Or Pnimi, and then there's the Hakafos of the Mizbeach for the Shanas, which is the Or Makif of which for Zer and Pin, right? Which are coming from Zer and Pin into Nukva. But here by the Sukkah we actually have the Or Makif. The Or Pnimi came in mostly through the days between Yom Kippur and Chag Sukkot. The last and the highest part of that coming in on the first day of Sukkot on Yom Tov Rishon. Along with that commenced the Oros Hamakifin from Ima, the Chasadim, which were Bechinis Makifin. Says Rebbe Nachman in the Likutey MoHaRa, this is in Torah Kaf Aleph, explains these concepts in the ARIZa in a very beautiful way. He says, "V'shefel luki azos bechinas sukkah." Right, the influx of divine energy, right, is the bechin of the sukkah. Ki sukkah hu bechinat shesacha beruach hakodesh. For sukkah is the idea of shesacha, that it was enveloped in Ruach HaKodesh. In other words, the same lashon of Sukkah, which is really to cover, is also is the same idea of Ruach HaKodesh. That's how Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, rests upon a person. Ki Ruach HaKodesh is Shefel Loki. Obviously, Ruach HaKodesh is a flow from above. It's a divine inspiration. V'Sukkah hazos hu ayidei shiva ananim, and the Sukkah. This is sort of an aside. Rebbe Nachman says that just like the Sukkah, we know one of the Chachamim holds that the Sukkah is in.a kavod. It was the clouds of glory. What are these? There are actually 7 clouds of glory. The 7 clouds of glory correspond to the 7 spheros, the 7 days, the 7 zat, the bottom 7 sphirot from Malchus up to Chesed. And these correspond, says Rebbe Nachman, to the 7 orifices of the head, the ears, eyes, nose, and mouth, which, if they are sanctified, says Rebbe Nachman, then one becomes a vessel for wisdom to enter. In other words, it's one has to sanctify his eyes, his ears, what he hears, his mouth, how he speaks, his nose. That's a slightly deep Indian, but it means there's a certain wisdom and there's a certain energy, certainly, which is incorporated through the fragrance. And all these things will ultimately contribute to a person's attainment of wisdom. Ubalev kol chacham lev natati chochma. That's what it says by those who were participating in the building of the Mishkan. B'chol lev chacham. They're called already wise. I gave chochma. In other words, there's a certain hitorus milatata, which is an inspiration or a motivation that we and then there's an intended blessing from above. The Sukkah is like this Or of Makif. What do we mean? What does Rebbe Nachman mean to say? Gadol ad lemeod. For this idea, an idea of a makif is something which is so great. Ad she'ein hamoch yechol lesovlo, ve'ein nichnas b'moch. Until to the extent that the brain, which is after all, it's only a vessel. We know the brain is like it's a pretty miraculous structure. Certainly, we don't know how it evolved, but it is what it is, and it can only understand so much. We're finite beings, and there's a whole lot we can understand. The things we understand, and we're just beginning to understand. We're very proud of ourselves, but we don't understand a whole lot. So there are those things. A makif, the idea of a makif is something which is not, the brain, the vessel is not able to contain. This is something. This describes something which the human brain is unable to fathom, right? Says Rabbi Nachman, there are lots of things like this, right? Kamo hayedia v'bechira, just like knowledge, like cognition, like how do I know truth? It's very difficult to understand truth. Bechira, free will, right? How do I know what to choose? I have free will. If I knew exactly what was going to be the particular outcome of anything, I wouldn't have any free will regarding that thing, because I would choose the positive outcome unless I was insane. So now we see that there is free will, and this is because of the fact that we have these concepts and structures which we are not able to contain within our puny human brain, as great as it might be. So, Baruch Hashem, I'm not complaining about it. Now, so he says, "She'ein nichnas b'pnimius hamoach ki im makif oto b'chutz v'sechel pnimi mekabel chiyut me'amakif hazeh." Another point is that those ideas that which you do manage to understand, whatever knowledge we accumulate, each according to his, ability and to his efforts, they actually the brain, what it has contained in it within itself, it actually is in the psech panimi gets a chiyus. It gets its life force from the makif, which is to which I have become shaykh somehow. In other words, I am shaykh. I have some sort of relationship with some makif. Everyone has. Just some people's makif is quite low, and some people's makif is extremely high. Right? Wherever I'm holding, the makif is that thing which is just beyond me. V'da shezeh ikar koach ha-bechira, kol zman shesechel ein kol kach gadol lehavina yediyah bechira, azai koach ha-bechira yom mekomo. So this is the idea of bechira, like choice. I have free will because of those things that I can't fathom how they're going to go, and therefore I'm left with, some sort of a free will. I'm not coerced into any decision by some sort of an outcome, a knowledge of the outcome. So that's for good and for bad. In other words, I want to get closer to God, but, and I think this is a good idea to do, or perhaps I think, this won't hurt, it'll be okay. I have free will. But when the makif is somehow integrated, in other words, I ascend in my level of consciousness, right, then Bechira is gone, as far as that goes anyway. In other words, there's things that I won't do, like I'm not going to press the button if I could. I'm not going to pull the trigger. There are things that I probably won't do, right? I don't even smoke cigarettes, because I just know it's just going to make me feel awful. I try not to drink coffee. I do drink it sometimes, but when I do, I regret it. I don't know why I do it. Now, but anyway, when I transcend my certain level of consciousness, then the bechira is gone for these things. If like say I quit coffee out forever, means I know I'm done with coffee, and I have no bechira about it. Why? Because I've integrated that consciousness. I know it's not good for whatever you want to talk about, and so certainly like averas, we know we don't do them when we understand how pejorative it is, how negative it is. Then we don't do them. Says Rebbe Nachman, this is all is mirumaz to in the Gemara. The Gemara says in Brachas Yud Zayin Shatid Latid Tzadikim Yoshvim Ateroseim Beroshehem. It says that in the future, when the tzaddikim get their get their compensation for all their good behavior, for their striving to connect to a Kodesh Baruch Hu in this world, right? They sit with crowns on their head. So Rebbe Nachman says, what does it mean to be sitting with crowns on your head? So he says, first of all, they're sitting because we're talking about the Lasid Lavoi, right? The world to come. In other words, when the world, there's a unity between the higher worlds and the lower worlds. No longer are we separated by the same sort of masachim, the same sort of separations which create free will. Free will is gone. So that's why they're yoshvim, because yoshvim means they're no longer striving. Right? Striving is a product of free will. The free will is given to us in order that we should, through our striving, make gains and come closer to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and therefore that's the ultimate good. However, Lasid Lavo, that's already finished. That process is done. And so the tzaddikim are sitting, V'atorseim b'roshehem, and their crowns are on their heads. But really, he says, Rabbi Nachman, he says, why did it say b'roshehem? It should have said al roshehem, because typically a crown sits upon your head. It's not in your head. So he says, no. He says, we're talking about Latid Lavo, and in the world to come, right? The atara, the crown, that is the makif. That is another manifestation, an incarnation of the Or Makif. The Or Makif, which is above. But he says, with Latid Lavo, we've become one with it. In other words, that was my level. That my last level, apparently, it would be the Makif that was just beyond me at that point and where I was holding. That becomes we're always ascending or chas v'shalom in the opposite direction. Wherever we're holding, there's going to be something that's a bit above, which haven't succeeded to be in a level of consciousness which I haven't managed to integrate. Says, but that whole process is done by Lasid Lavoy, right? And therefore, right, since that's the Atoraseyim, the crowns of the tzaddikim are in their heads, they're no longer on their heads. It's a symptom of being in the world to come. I hope that this has shed a little bit of light on the matter of the Or HaMakif. The Or Makif is this light which is above, and I think it relates to the Sukkah with regard to what Chazal calls the Sukkah's property of being the Tzildim Nusa. It's the shade of Emunah. One sits within it, and one is imbued with Emunah, but really it's a way of expressing your Emunah. It's a way of connecting Kodesh Baruch Hu, and even more, there's a segula about the Sukkah, because since it's a light from Ima, it's a light from Bina, it's the Chasadim from Bina, from Ima, which are going to enervate the entirety of the year. It's about tshuva, and tshuva and emunah are going together. Like when I believe in God, I make it clear to myself that I'm going to have faith in God, and I act on that faith, and I get closer to God. That is the man's struggle in this world. It's a struggle which is made clear by the mitzvah of Sukkah, sitting out in the Sukkah where things are not clear, you're not clearly protected. It doesn't really have a roof. It doesn't really even have walls. It's just you're out there in the Reshut Rabim, and you've made it into your own little private Reshus. You've tamed it, but you're going out onto the frontier. That's what that's about. And so when we sit out there in the Sukkah and we're trying to integrate higher levels of a makif, we're certainly bound to ascend in our spiritual connection to the Creator. Kein Hi Ratzon, we should have a beautiful Sukkah and a wonderful year.